morning. Well, listen, come forward, you right? Listen, firstly, good morning and good to see you all here in Parliament again after having seen you on the campaign trail. Pretty exciting day for us. We've got 23 new MPs joining us today, coming together for the first time in their first caucus meeting. So it's a great opportunity for us to spend some time together, for them to get to know each other, get familiar with this place, start the induction process, and pretty exciting time for us. With that, happy to take questions.
Do you promise to be a transparent and accountable Prime Minister for New Zealand?
I'm going to be very much so, yes.
Why are you changing the way that you interact with media?
I'm not aware that we are.
Are you going to do caucus runs as normal as every other government has done?
We'll make our people available to you exactly as we plan. Just today is different because it's their first time here and we're bringing them together, but you'll make them available to you as normal.
So that's just for today, that new system?
Yeah, well, just for today, yeah, bring them in together because many of them haven't actually met each other. They're going through that process over the course of the next few days, and it's important that we have time together to chat as well.
Are you able to clarify? What's your strategy for selecting the new portfolios? Are you going to go on past experience or are you going to go on skill set even if it's new? What are you thinking big picture with that?
Again, it's a little premature for us because we need to form a government.
Strategy though,
but our thinking, even since I've become the leader, and Nicola and I have worked this up with our caucus, is that we want it to be performance based, and so we've been looking at seniority and tenure is really important, experience is very important. If you've been here a long time, we want your best year to have been your last year. We want you to be able to propose policy ideas. We want you to be well circulated in the sectors that you're representing. Those are the things that when we've been doing our performance reviews with MPs, those are the things that we talk about.
Which portfolios have you already? I mean, Nicola's obviously been locked in as Finance Minister. I gather that Mark Mitchell's also been locked in as Police Minister in comments you've made on the campaign trail. Have you got any others locked in?
No, the only two people that we've locked in is Prime Minister Chris Luxon and Finance Minister Nicola Willis.
So Mark Mitchell may not be Police Minister then?
Well, I think he would make a great Police Minister. That's my view. But again, I'm not going to get into any of that because we would need to go through a process with the respective...
Are there any portfolios that you will take completely off the negotiating table with the other parties other than finance?
At this stage, the finance is the only one that we've got.
Are you able to Jacinda Ardern took child poverty, junkie, tourism. What are you thinking for yourself?
Personally, I haven't thought too deeply about that just yet. I'm very conscious that in a coalition government, I want to make sure that I'm building those relationships, making sure that we've got strong, stable government. I think a lot of my role will actually be making sure there's good glue, actually making sure we've got strong, stable relationships and partnerships between the respective parties, and also making sure that I've got an ability to be able to support ministers in key portfolios as we work through and get change and get delivery and results. So initially, I think, personally, I think there's actually real value in me actually being able to manage that side of it versus taking on a hard portfolio.
So more of an umbrella CEO role.
Correct.
Are you able to, Chris Luxon, and makeup of your new caucus?
Yeah, look, I think we've made tremendous progress. I mean, there's always more for us to do, but if you think about the calibre of the candidates that we've been able to bring in, I think about we've made tremendous progress here.
Just one Pacific MP, and you might lose that on the specials. I mean, is that disappointing?
Look, I mean, there's, as I said, there's more to do, but I think when I look at the candidates that we had standings, many who made it in, some who didn't, I think we've actually moved forward big time.
So Chris Robertson, are you able to clarify your first 100 days? Does that start as of yesterday, or does it start when you actually become Prime Minister and you give the Governor-General the...
Starts when we officially are a government, because that's when we can actually go get things done.
I mean, that's an unknown period of time. It might take weeks. Are you giving yourself enough time to actually be able to do this, given that Parliament's going to be essentially closed for part of Christmas period?
Well, we're going to get moving quickly, but once we can't start until we formally have a government.
Just on your comments about your caucus, is it fair to say that it perhaps hasn't met your hopes or expectations around diversity?
Well, look, I actually think we've won seats that we actually, we knew we had a good shot at. Some of them have come through really strongly. I look at, if you look at Catherine Wedd and Katie Nimmin and Dana Kirkpatrick, say on the East Coast and in the Bay, it's a great setup. When you think about people like David McLeod coming through, Tama winning back in Hamilton, we've made good progress. There's always more to do, and yes, I will keep championing for more diversity. And as a party, in our post-election review, we'll have more conversations about how we continue to attract more diverse candidates and going forward. But I think we've made great progress.
So what particular elements of previous negotiations have you been unimpressed by?
Just the blow by blow, doing it through the media. And I appreciate there'll be lots of reckons, there'll be lots of people interviewing typewriters, there'll be lots of people with comment. But actually, the parties have
media's role in democracy.
Yeah, I do.
Is that blow by blow? Are you saying from major parties as well, or are you talking about the likes of New Zealand First, the Greens, the more minor parties?
No, I'm talking about just in general.
So you're having a crack then at Bill English in 2017?
I'm not having a crack at anybody. I'm just saying to you, I'm wanting to do it in a different way. I've done a lot of negotiations. The way I deal with things, I want to build chemistry and relationship first and foremost. We've worked through our transactional issues.
But are you in effect by saying you've been unimpressed by previous negotiations, saying that you were unimpressed with the way that Bill English did it? Is that effectively what you're saying? Can you just answer that question for me, please? Are you unimpressed with how Bill English did it?
I want to do it differently. I was unimpressed at how we've done a series of negotiations in the MMP over a long period of time. It's more important. I'm focused on going forward. I'm going to do it my way.
You talk about your negotiations and that you've done a lot before. This is very different because you are an elected Prime Minister. We are the fourth estate that represents the public, and it feels like you're treating us like we're the ones that are hyped up. We're not. We're the ones asking on behalf of the public who have a vested interest in what's going on here. So can you see where we're coming from?
I fully respect that, and I fully respect your role in the media, but what I'm just saying to you is that we had a mandate on Saturday night. We're going to work our way through our arrangements of progressing our relationships and also the arrangements for a future government with those respective parties. I'm not doing negotiation through the media with that. So as a result, we need some
50 MPs in there, right? And probably more broadly in Parliament. So don't you have a responsibility to get that balance right?
Absolutely, and we will get that right. But all I'm just saying to you is that we had an election on Saturday night. We have a mandate for change. We've laid out our parties that we would want to work with. You need to be able to give us time in an MMP environment to deal with the results that we encountered on Saturday night. And now we're working with those parties to progress those relationships and those arrangements. That's entirely reasonable. What I'm saying to you is I just can't come out here every day and give you a blow-by-blow of what we're discussing with each of those individual parties, because that's not particularly helpful.
It's not about that.
We will surface with an answer.
It's not about that, though. It's the tone that you're setting by making it sound like we are being, hungry and ferocious and impatient.
No, I'm not meaning to say that at all to you. You've got a very important role to play as media. I fully respect that, and I want to have a strong, positive relationship with media because I think it's a very important role in our democracy.
Could you then,
when I'm being asked about the approach, it's just a different approach.
Will you make secrecy a condition for the other parties to uphold when they get into talks with you? In other words, will you require that they not talk to the media while they're talking to you?
I think it's in the interest. I think you'll find that actually probably the leaders of the parties will actually want to work together and actually get through this together, and rather than do it through the media is my hope as well.
Could you open negotiations with Winston Peters with offering him the Speaker?
No, we haven't. I appreciate there's lots of reckons. I appreciate there's lots of people with lots of views about what could happen. I just say to you that has not been...
Well, it's not been reckoned, it's been reported.
Towards
Richard Harman, if you want to tell me it's wrong.
Sure, that's right. And I appreciate there's lots of reports and lots of articles that I've read and lots of columns about lots of things. And that's part of what I'm not focused on.
It wasn't a column, it was reported. He's not thinking it.
Yeah.
He's reporting it. Are you saying he's wrong?
I've got it. It's wrong.
Could you just tell us exactly what your issue with this has been in the past? Because it wasn't Jacinda Ardern, it wasn't Bill English in the past talking to government. They weren't holding daily stand-ups. It was Winston Peters talking to us. So what exactly do you see differently this time, or what the difference you want to be?
All I'm just saying to you is we're going to have a different approach.
But what is that different approach? I mean, it seems on the surface the exact same as it's been in the past.
Well, the approach is very simply, I'm going to use the next 3 weeks until the special votes are fully counted to actually progress the relationships and the arrangements with each individual party. The way we work with them will be different, but we're going to do that with those party leaders and with those teams.
Are you absolutely confident?
Can I ask you, what's your view on the unfolding humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and what's the role for New Zealand in that crisis, particularly now? Is the country hamstrung by caretaker provisions?
No, not at all. Actually, there's actually been very good connectivity between the outgoing Labor government and our incoming government. I've been very impressed by that. I've been very respectful of that, and I've been very appreciative of that. We have our chiefs of staff working. We have conversations happening between ministers, and that's been very positive, and that will continue to do so. But actually, it's important that the government owns those decisions. That we are consulted and supportive of, and when we're consulted,
so you're what's happening in northern Gaza right now.
Again, I'm going to let the government respond to that on behalf of New Zealand.
Can you see how it might be a little bit confusing for us as the fourth estate? You're saying you don't want to come out and talk to us every day. We would obviously like to do that, but the last couple of days you have come out and proactively talked to us. You've told us where you're going to be and where the conversations will be.
But what I'm just saying to you is I'm not going to be able to give you a blow-by-blow of negotiations and conversations around negotiations. So what I'm doing very clearly is saying to you, look, we are going to use the 3 weeks to progress the relationship and the arrangements with those parties.
So it's your view that it's best for the negotiations that they're not publicised. But do you think with respect to the public, because obviously there will be reckons regardless.
Lots of people have got lots of views. I've seen stuff written already.
That's the best thing for the public if you think that those reckons are going to be.
What is the best thing for the public is they gave us a mandate on Saturday. In an MMP environment, we're now charged and obligated to go form a government. That's what we're working our way through. We need time to be able to do that with the parties as we actually get to know each other, build the relationship. I'm a person who believes in a solid foundation of relationship and chemistry, and then we work our way through the issues. We will do that.
Is your tax plan up for negotiation at all?
We've made a very big commitment to deliver tax relief for lower middle income New Zealanders, and that will happen.
Yeah, but would it change would it change in any way in the negotiations, or is that locked?
We are going to deliver tax relief for lower middle income New Zealanders.
There are protesters outside talking about climate change and wanting assurances from you. What message do you have for them outside?
Well, look, the same message I had in the campaign is that we are deeply committed to delivering net zero 2050. We are very locked in on the goal. The means by which we deliver that, as we talked about, will be different from the government, and we've had our policy that we've talked about through the campaign. Think about EV charges, think about doubling the amount of renewable energy, think about agricultural emissions and approaches to that, and the use of the ETS scheme. So I appreciate that's our policy. But the means by which we're committed to those goals.
Do you intend to keep the domestic violence prevention ministerial portfolio that Marama Davidson had held?
I think it's really important. I think family violence in New Zealand is something we should be ashamed about.
Just answer the question though.
Sorry?
To Māori voters?
Oh, look, I just want everyone to know that we are going to be a government for all New Zealanders. We want to see improved outcomes for Māori and non-Māori. And so, again, we want to partner with Māori organisations to be able to deliver better outcomes. That's what we'll focus on doing.
Both David Seymour and Winston Peters have put questions across your tax plan. Are you worried about it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, Jess is in the hot. I don't need to get that shot. Yeah, sorry, should be.
breaking out his dad jokes. It really is. Hey, listen, how cool is this, eh? This has been a bit of an empty room the last 3 years, and it's jam-packed, and I hope we've got enough chairs for everybody. I just want to say to all of you, thank you so much, guys, because we said, 2 years ago, we go up and down as a team. We said we come together as a team, we deal with the highs, we deal with the lows, and we've done that incredibly well as a team of believers. And the 34 of us that fought the fight over the last 3 years, to be joined by 23 new MPs is so exciting for us, because that's what we worked so hard at over the last 2 years to first and foremost bring ourselves together as a team, which we did incredibly well as a parliamentary and party wing. Big thank you to Sylvia for her role in that as well. What we did in 18 months is that we came together as a group. We said we can do better than this. We're going to be focused on the New Zealand people. We held the government to account on a narrow range of things that we thought were important to Kiwis, and then we proposed our ideas over the course of this last year. And to be competitive, not just competitive, but to win an election like we did, is no mean feat. And I think it'll be one of the great political comebacks in New Zealand's political history. To all of our 23 new MPs, we are so proud of you. We have watched you build your campaigns in this very room most Tuesdays, as we've talked about it, as Chris Bishop has led us through a conversation every week around it. We are so proud of you, so proud of you. You're coming to this place with real world experience, you're coming with new ideas, you're going to add something different to our team, and that's what we really want to see. More diverse thinking, real life experience. It's is going to be incredibly valuable to us. So I hope you feel incredibly proud of what you've achieved. Be thankful and grateful for the people that have sent you here. Think about the supporters and all the people who have done work for you that have led you this far, and be thankful and go thank them and be grateful for that. And then come to this place with great reverence, but also determined to make a difference, to play in a team, play your position on the team incredibly well, and to go change the country. Very few people get this great privilege to do this, and it's pretty special. So it's really awesome to have you here. As I said, I think in my induction 3 years ago, they said there's actually been more All Blacks than there has been MPs selected to Parliament. So it's a pretty special honour. But let's continue the work that we've been doing as a team. We have a huge responsibility and a tremendous privilege now to go to work for the New Zealand people. We're serious about that. The mantra that we talked about through our campaign, we now need to bring to life for people. And we are not, it's not about this place, it's about what we do for the people outside of this place. Our media friends to leave, and then Simon can stop the dad dancing, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, should we go and play? Is this dancing that bad? Is the dancing that bad? Right.
It's a very slow walk. Not a quick walk, right? No, Chippy basically runs.
Yeah. Can we have it? Do you think that Chris Hipkins should stay on as leader for a little while at least?
I think he should stay on for the whole thing. I hope he does. And if he does, I'll back him.
Why is that?
He's a good bloke and he works hard.
Have you ever thought about your leadership ambitions? Did it ever cross your mind to be the next leader of the Labour Party?
Nah.
Do you have what it takes, do you think?
Probably not.
Would you completely rule out a run for leadership if the position became open?
Absolutely. I'm not at all interested.
What happens if people back you for the job? It'll be hard to say no, won't it?
Nah. It's pretty easy. Say no.
When you say for the whole thing, you mean until the next election?
Yeah.
Would that be good for the party though? And if you obviously think that, why do you think it would be good for the party?
I've never really understood why under MMP, just because a leader lost, they feel they have to resign. It was never the case beforehand. We've got numerous examples in New Zealand politics where Prime Ministers have lost, they've rebuilt the party and they've won again. I think Chippy can do it. You know, this is the first two-term government under MMP. I reckon he could be the first Prime Minister to win it back.
Do you think he might be a little bit more suited to lead opposition? Just like his political style.
I think he's got the goods, be it as Prime Minister or leader of the opposition. And if someone's good at something, regardless of what's happened, they're still good.
Well, you must be gutted to have lost Wairarapa.
I am. Yeah, that job meant a lot to me. But I've still got a spot in Parliament. That's a pretty good consolation. I can still do stuff for my region. That's why I got into politics.
What do you put Labour's loss down to?
I think people wanted a change. It's a pretty hard thing to push back on.
Can you give more details? Was it they didn't like your policy, or was it that your caucus fractured for personnel problems?
Well, I mean, you've obviously got some views. I don't share them. I'm pretty happy with the answer I gave. Sweet. Cheers.
Piece by winning or Hariu. Why was that, do you think?
Oh, a lot of my contemporaries won by more than me. But look, it was a local campaign. I think the people of Ohariu are used to having a MP on the ground that they see and know that it will probably be there next week. So I think that may have been something to do with it. But look, it's hard because, you know, there are about 42,000 voters there and each of them voted for a different reason. You know, we tend to sort of throw, they voted this way, that way. However, they all made up their own minds.
Thank you so much. Hey, Mikey. Oh, sorry. Hey, Benedict. Yeah. You need the shot. Up.
See, it's the Judith Collins shot.
Sorry.
Good morning, everybody. Before we begin today, I would like to just acknowledge the most recent inflation numbers, down to 5.6%. Good news for the economy and shows that we leave the government's economic position in an improving position for the incoming government.
Have you thought about your future?
Yes, of course, and I'll be having a conversation with the team about that shortly.
Do you intend to stay?
Look, I indicated on Saturday night I wanted the opportunity to talk to the team before making any decisions about that, and we have the opportunity to do that today. My real focus at the moment is two things, really. One, making sure that we ensure a smooth transition to the new government. I think we owe that to the New Zealand people to make sure that the transition is smooth and that we execute our responsibilities as the caretaker government responsibly over the next however long it takes for them to form a government, and that may be a matter of days or it may be a matter of weeks. And then The second is to make sure that Labour transitions into being a very formidable opposition as quickly as possible. And so I'm committed to playing whatever role necessary to ensure that both of those things happen.
So you are committed to stay
right now?
As I've indicated, I want to have those conversations with the caucus before I make public.
What should we read into that, Prime Minister, what should we read into that? You walked in with a lot of MPs. That tends to happen when big things are happening. You also took the last 2 days off to reflect. What should we read into that?
I wouldn't read too much into that at all. I think it just shows that we're picking ourselves up again. It's been a pretty brutal weekend, and the team have been incredible actually, in sort of supporting each other, supporting those MPs who are not returning, I think we'll regroup as a team.
Are you still hungry for politics?
Look, I want to have that conversation with the team before I make any decisions about my own future, and I think that that's only right that I give them the opportunity.
In terms of your wider concerns,
without talking to the team, are you still hungry to be in the job? Are you still hungry to be in
Look, I'm not done with politics yet.
In terms of your wider caucus, have you had any conversations about any of your other senior front bench MPs leaving at any stage?
Look, I'm going to leave it up to each of them to make their own public pronouncements on that at appropriate times, if that is what they want to do.
Have they talked to you about this?
A couple of people have, but look, it's fair that they make their own.
So we can expect some resignation announcements from your MPs?
Look, I'm not going to announce things on their behalf.
You spoke last week on the campaign trail about that momentum and getting the numbers up. It didn't come through. Have you had much reflection time in the last couple of days to think about perhaps what you were hearing versus how people actually ended up voting?
I mean, I think, look, regardless of what comes out of the next few days, when you lose an election, you need to take a bit of time to reflect. And a big part of that is, as a new opposition, you have to take some time to listen. And I think that, regardless of what role I play in that, I will certainly play my part in ensuring that as an opposition we take some time to reflect and to listen.
Have you had any specific thoughts about what it might have been, whether it was policy-wise, style-wise, how you ran the campaign that might have contributed to not bringing people along with you?
Plenty of time to reflect on that, but as I indicated on Saturday, I think right the way through the campaign there was a certain mood for change that proved to be very, very difficult to shift.
Are you committed to staying for 3-year term in Parliament as the MP for Robertson?
I've made the commitment to the people of my electorate each 3 years when I put my name forward that I'm committing to 3 years, and regardless of what role I play during that time, I owe that to my constituents who place their faith in me to be their local MP.
Do you have a view as an outside observer as to whether New Zealand First should be involved in a government with national impact?
That's really a matter for them. But look, Christopher Luxon indicated before the election that he could pull together a three-way government if that is what is required, and I think it's now incumbent on him to do that as quickly as possible.
Apart from tired, how are you feeling?
Look, I remain very optimistic about New Zealand's future. Politics aside, I think New Zealand is a fantastic country with a very bright future ahead of it. I got into politics to make a difference, as I've indicated. I've still got some energy to contribute in whatever way that might be in the future.
How was it being able to spend time with your family post-election?
It was really lovely, actually. I've been able to have a few mornings with the kids and so on, and I think they have very much appreciated it.
A lot of people, after your speech, were asking the question, who is Tony?
Yeah.
Who is Tony?
Tony is a very special woman, just to be clear. It's Tony with an I. Didn't quite mean to trigger that set of rumours right on Saturday night, but we've known each other for a long time. We met some time ago. Our lives sort of went in different directions, and there was quite a period where we didn't have any contact with each other, and then we got back in touch this year, and so it's been a highlight of the year.
How did she feel about being hard launched on that scale?
Hard launched is a bit of a rough term. We had talked about it beforehand.
How's it been dating? I feel like these questions are really different. How is it dating during an election campaign with the level of scrutiny that you have in your life?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not an easy job in which to have a new relationship, and I did make the decision not to be public about that until after the election. I think anybody who starts a new relationship doesn't necessarily want it to be on the front page of the paper right at the beginning, so it's been nice.
And just shifting...
moving back to the news.
On Gaza, can you just speak to the announcement you've made and why you've chosen to do that? Yeah,
so New Zealand always in these situations looks to contribute to multilateral efforts. We've made the decision to contribute $5 million as an initial step, and we're doing that during this caretaker period. Obviously, decisions about future involvement will be ones for the incoming government. We have, as we are required to do in the caretaker period, consulted them and agreed, reached received their agreement to this caretaker measure, which is a $5 million contribution to humanitarian aid.
And how concerned are you about the possibility for a ground invasion in Gaza?
I don't want to get into speculation, but I think right now the humanitarian situation is one that I think the whole world is paying very close attention to. I think we need to make sure that food and supplies are available. I think we need to make sure that despite the conflict, that international humanitarian conventions are still being adhered to.
Grant Robertson, are you intent? Sorry, can we just?
We'll go in and leave you to it.
Thank you very much. You went on the list for the election. Are you planning to serve out the full
I think my job at the moment is to be part of turning us into a really high quality opposition. Obviously I've got all too much experience in that particular part of parliamentary process, so my commitment is to do that, and then I'll make assessments as I go through the term, but right now I think I've got a job to do to get us shipshape.
Do you have any regrets stepping down in Wellington Central now that the seat's flipped over to the Greens?
No, I don't. I mean, I was very clear that I felt that I had done what I could in Wellington Central. I had the focus in the finance area. Obviously, I'm gutted for Ibrahim. I think he's an outstanding person and an outstanding MP. So we'll reflect a bit on that, but no, those decisions are...
What do you think your time frame is in terms of embedding the opposition? Are we talking about months or...?
Well, I think it'll be months for sure. I mean, we've got to, do a very important job today and thank and farewell some people. Then we've, got to see what the final election result actually is, and then sit down and work our way through how to be a good opposition. So, it's a month.
Is it time for Labour to change its leader? You're doing service after service after service for the Labour Party. Do you feel that deep in your core?
I owe everything to the Labour Party. I mean, if Grant Robertson had put his name on the ballot paper in 2008, I wouldn't have been elected on that basis. I strongly believe in what we stand for. I think what we stand for in terms of looking after people and the environment and the future is more important now than ever. And so I know I'm committed to this Labour Party.
Is it time for Hipkins is the right person to lead Labour out of this loss?
I'm incredibly supportive of Chris. I think he has done a really good job. And one reflection I've had over the last few days is it's a relatively recent phenomenon in New Zealand politics to believe that if someone loses an election, they need to go as the leader. I mean, my prediction is we'll end up around 28%-ish after the special votes are counted. That's the same percentage that Helen Clark got in 1996, and she won the 1999 election. So, I think Chippy's a good person. He certainly has my support.
Do you have any? Is that also because there's no one else waiting in the wings?
Well, no, I'm just answering the question, and I think Chris is a person I support, and he certainly has my support.
Do you have any leadership ambitions at all? Like, it might not be now.
Jason, we've really been around the block on this many times. No.
Just on your personal situation, are you closing the door on running again in 26?
As I said, I'm going to take this in stages over the next little while. So my commitment is to be here to get us into shipshape for opposition, and then I'll keep assessing things from there.
Grant, although I appreciate your staunch commitment to service, aren't you just kind of tired and ready to...
Well, I'm definitely tired, but no, I mean, as I said, what the Labour Party stands for matters to me. We've got a really good group of people in there, but many of them haven't been through opposition. It is a very, very different experience, and as I said, I had all too long in that time previously, so I've got a job to do.
Is that what you see
and ready to fight, are you?
Absolutely.
How concerned are you that bedrock...
moving on in a few months?
No, I just said I'm taking those decisions in stages.
So do you see
that bedrock that was kind of built under Andrew Little and then yourself and Jacinda Ardern will be broken?
Bedrock of the caucus.
Unity.
Yeah. No, not at all. I'm not at all. I mean, there is definitely time now for us to reflect, and after every election, the Labour Party has a review, and that will be a very important one for us. It's a review not only of how we campaigned, but what we campaigned on, and I think it's important we take the time to do that well. But I don't have any concerns about the unity.
Do you hold regret that you didn't campaign?
Again, these are things for the review. One thing I would say is that after many elections, there is never one policy that decides an election.
Just to put the question to you that I asked you before, have you had any time to reflect on what it was that meant that the voters didn't come with you despite the messaging that you were hearing, that you were getting momentum and things were picking up?
Again, that's for the future review. As I said on election night, the time for a change narrative feeling is very, very hard to hold back. But beyond that, I'll just leave my comments for our internal review. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Grant.
Well, you needed more.